I do like how you also talk about issues with the red pillars because guys like Sneeko, he's like a bipolar ex-girlfriend. I really don't understand him. It's like Fuentes said it best. When he's around white people, he's like a when he's around black people, he feels out of place. He has this whole mixed identity crisis. He's Jewish, he's Muslim. It's like signing a whole bunch of different ethnic groups on a job application. He's a weird
Yeah,
dude. You know, this is a guy that drinks. This is a guy that literally had pork in his mouth. He literally watched a man his wife in front of him. I mean, I
he
don't
admitted to
know
that
what's
too.
more creative than that. Yeah, and he lost his virginity in the church. He jerked off to gay porn. I don't know how people take this guy seriously. Now, I understand people can change. The guy tries to shit on white people any chance he can get. Okay, well, let's look at sub-Saharan Africans. Like, they don't have more wars. Like, there's not more rape in those areas.
Yeah, the
Like,
only
my
time they
favorite
have
thing to company
prosperous societies is
is the
when the white
white
people
people.
colonize their land. Like Rhodesia, for example, the second Rhodesia collapsed
Mugabe
is
begged the white man to come back.
boy,
Yeah,
yeah, the
it's
second
sad.
Rhodesia collapsed when the British Empire declared independence, right? And basically, that just
Yeah.
means white people leaving. Right? Yeah, and my
Yeah,
my
and
whole
even
issue,
apartheid, South Africa was better during apartheid. Now it's a lot of it.
yeah,
There's
right?
more STDs, there's more violence. And Nelson Mandela was actually a violent socialist. Like the dude, literally, there were tires around people that were lighting up the tires. There was a lot of violence, and people act as if he was peaceful. And it's really annoying when they act as if black people were very peaceful, and then they praise them to be this. Oh, they suffered. Well, a lot of these black men were actually guilty of crimes, but then the media plays it off like they weren't, like the Central Park Five and even the Montgomery situation with Rosa Parks. That was a setup. It was Claudette Colvin. You know, she was a pregnant black woman. She was the one that actually went through it.
Really, was
Rosa
a
Parks'
setup.
husband. Yeah,
I didn't know
Rosa
that
Parks.
actually.
So Rosa Parks' husband actually had a car, and they were all in the same school. If you look at Shadow Jackson's, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
What
yeah,
the
it was
fuck?
yeah, yeah. It was like a communist school sort of thing. Like when you look at Stanley Levison in the book, it was called The Dangerous Friendship Between Stanley Levison, JFK, MLK. MLK was a homosexual, cheated on his wife.
Yeah, that.
Even what the CIA had on him, his friend was a pastor, raped a woman right next to him, and then they laughed. You know,
His
there's a
speech
lot
was
of things.
also written by people too. A lot
Yeah,
of his
Stanley
campaign, there's
Levison.
a lot of
Yeah.
involvement in his campaign as well.
Yeah, same thing with feminism. We saw the Rosenthals and the Rothschilds and the CIA a part of those projects.
Yeah, a lot of the early French feminists were also too. A lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's always Ashkenazi that play a huge role in this.
Yeah, it's a lot of Ashkenazi. I want to take it back to the Sneeko thing because I have this thing I constantly say about Sneeko. I say Sneeko's only philosophy is clout. If you look at his history, it seems like he only gets on camera and will say and do what it takes to bring in more views, more monetary gain, whatever kind of gain he can possibly get. Like he's been all over the place when it comes to politics in the political spectrum, right?
It's like
Like
tug of war.
one year he's a BLM activist, next year he's a Christian white nationalist, next year he's a Muslim multiculturalist, globalist, and then the next year he's a socialist, like communist. He's all over the place, right? Is you
No,
can't
I
really
agree.
map him down somewhere, and you can say that's because he's an independent or something like that. But I would say it's just he knows what it takes to get more views, more clicks, and generate more of that. And I question a lot of the things he says because, I mean, he literally has videos of him saying, I'm a compulsive liar. I will say what it takes to get what I need, etc.,
Mm.
etc. So how do you know what he's saying is true? How do I know? How do we know even if what he says is true when he says, like, I to get porn, I watch my girl get like, how do we know that's true? How do we know he's not just lying for, like, more
For
attention?
views. No, I understand that, but like it also makes you question like where his morals are at,
That
right?
too, yeah.
Because it's like I said, I've been with someone who's bipolar and he's like a bipolar ex-girlfriend. Like what are you? What are your political views? Where do you lean towards? And the thing is he's mixed race and that plays a huge factor in his identity. He says what he needs to say to please the crowd. I remember I saw a video of him near a bunch of black gentlemen when they were playing basketball, and they were like, "Sneeko, watch your mouth. What you say about us?" Well, but I'm black too, and it's really funny because he's Haitian, Filipino, and part Ashkenazi Jew, and he's a man that claims to be a practicing Muslim. So I look at Sneeko. Black people hurt his feelings because he feels like he's not black enough, or he feels like he's an outcast. He hits on white people every chance he gets, and he's constantly defending brown people. Meanwhile, you're in a nation that was created by white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. So is your loyalty to America, is your loyalty to Muslim nations, is your loyalty to Haiti? Because let's be honest, okay, you're part Haitian. I understand you're going to talk about issues in that area of the world. It makes sense. But what are you? You know what I mean? Same thing. Myron had issues, I think, with Sneako. And Sneako tends to stab people in the back a lot from what I've noticed about him. He's always seems, maybe that's the Jewish part of him, creating division and problems for other people. But like, no, literally, like, and I noticed like Myron couldn't stand him. I think it was like a situation where he tried to make Myron like pick and choose between, from what Fresh said, Fresh and Sneako. Obviously, Myron's going to choose Fresh. That's his boy. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, they made a whole podcast together, been friends for years.
Yeah,
through thick and thin, when Fresh aborted that kid, he stuck by him, even though he's pro-life to a certain extent, right?
To a certain degree, yeah. I don't always agree with Myron, but he is well-spoken. He is hilarious. And I do respect the relationship he has with Fresh. He's loyal. That's his brother, essentially. But it's very strange, especially when I look at how, with everything, right? Now that we were talking about and creating division, it's very fascinating because Black people are so easy to use for political gain, right? Now, Andre Williams talked about this on the PBD podcast when he was on with Patrick Bet-David. He talked about the average Black person, the house Negro, and the right? So
I've seen that video, yeah.
Yeah, he did a good job explaining it. But unfortunately, there's a lot of in the Black community, meaning that they're slaves to emotion, especially when it comes to voting, whether it's Democrat or Republican. We tend to see people like Kamala and Barack Obama, they're mixed race, but they're only Black when it's beneficial to them. Black people,
that's what Sneako does too, yeah.
Yeah. With Black people, we see this with the Carmelo Anthony case. He's Black. They'll stick up for him because he's Black. They won't even know what's going on. You know what I mean? Same thing with they painted him as a racist white man, Kyle Rittenhouse. He had an AR on him or whatever gun or assault rifle he had. He was attacked. Now, the people that attacked him were actually white liberals. And the people, one of them was a registered sex offender. So Black people to this day will still think this racist white man shot Blacks, but in fact, it was just liberal and lover whites.
Yeah, and I want to add on to that because the George Floyd case as well. They think that the cops were being racist and targeting this poor innocent Black man who was just minding his own business, and he was an outstanding citizen, etc. Which is actually farther from the case. If we look at the details, he only got the police calling him because he slipped a fake 20. He gave a fake 20 to the cashier. And he also took the drugs when he knew he got the police called on him because he didn't want to go to jail for drugs again. He's a career criminal. He pointed a gun at a pregnant woman's stomach. And most of the cops in that situation were not even white. Most of the cops.
They were Hispanic.
So there's nothing racial about that case at all. George Floyd simply just broke the law, got the police call on him. He was resisting. And then they used a police restraint technique that they're literally taught. Like Derek Chauvin went through the book. He everything he learned through the manual. And then George Floyd overdosed, and then they spun it to be this racist white man who was out to kill Black people that day, which is just not true. He was just simply doing his job.
So I wanted to ask you, because are you streaming right now?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. All right. So I also wanted to add, the recidivism rate in the Black community is just unacceptable. But what I saw with George Floyd, because like you said, in 2007, that was in 2007, I think, when the gun was pulled on the pregnant woman.
I actually don't know what year.
I think it could have been 2007. I remember reading about that case. He had a lot of in and out with drugs over and over, just recidivism, not learning. And we noticed this, right? We notice fighting words. We notice not learning. We notice excuses. And that's something that I have a problem with. Oh, it's hard being Black in America. I'm going to be honest. It's hard for Black people because of the acts of, right? Because you'll see your honest, hardworking Blacks, which unfortunately is a minority in the community. But
I agree.
And when I look at some of the most successful and well-spoken Black people that I tend to meet, and I'm going to segue into this subject when I say this, right? I'm kind of transferring. They always marry a white woman. Right? Successful, handsome Black man, well-spoken, well-groomed, professional. You look at Demetrius Johnson, you look at your Joel Patricks, you look at your RG3s, you look at your Dejan Reeds. What do they have in common? They're well-spoken, they have manners. You can listen to them. They have a voice where when they talk, people listen, right?
Yeah.
So I looked at that and I thought about white people and I look at crime statistics and I look at interracial marriage. A lot of the times when I see a white man with a black woman, that black woman tends to be really beautiful. People don't like to admit it, but I'll admit it. There was a black woman complaining, "Oh, black women always have that look when they're with a white guy." You know what it is? They're happy. They don't like hearing that. They're happy. She found that pot of gold right there. That leprechaun. Um, but yeah, it's really interesting. And then when you see black man with white woman, vice versa, we tend to see more domestic abuse, single motherhood. It doesn't work out as much compared
Yeah,
to
they
the
got
white
higher rates for sure.
black
And
woman.
there was a period in time where the black community they had high rates of two-parent households, believe it or not. 1950s,
Yeah,
1960s, those were the highest rates of
who you taking care of?
two-parent households, and now we have the highest rate of single mother households, and
Yeah,
that's specifically just because they're more incentivized to leave. Like they'll get government benefits, food
yeah.
benefits, SNAP, EB, all this stuff if they leave their partner. So we gotta definitely take that away, and or
I
have some
agree.
harsh restrictions on it.
The thing is, Snap has become the husband of the black woman. And that's what really breaks my heart, right? We've seen this with Native Americans where Native Americans back then, they were chiseled, they were mocked, jawline, good facial. Now they're fat as fuck, right? And they're on all these benefits. And it's hurt these
Yeah, when you own
benefits.
liquor stores and casinos, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're gonna be fat as
yeah.
hell.
There's a lot of also abuse in these communities and a lot of drug problems. I noticed with Native Americans too. Um, and the thing is, when the government gives these benefits, Lyndon Johnson, that policy actually hurt minority groups. Why? Because black people, social integration destroyed their businesses. We have the white man now. That creates an inferiority complex. I'd argue this hurt them and not redlining because redlining also affected white communities too. Don't get me wrong. Were
Yeah,
there racial discrimination moments happened? Yeah. But I do think
it
the media
affected white
plays that.
communities, immigrant communities, and more than just black, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even Hispanic and Asian communities
Yeah,
affected. So my problem is with the media is that they don't tell the whole story because it's easy to paint a narrative.
yeah,
Like everything we're taught in history is and like what actually happened, we have to learn for ourselves. And when I look at it, I remember like I was watching a debate between a black man and a white man, and it always comes down to crime statistics. People will say per capita, and then the black person will be emotional, not know what per individual means. So I look at per capita. All right, let's take per capita out of the picture. Let's look at the crime rates. We see blacks with a higher homicide, a higher rate of armed robberies. We see a lot of aggravated assault. It's so easy to get a black person angry. It's fighting words. Fuck you, bitch. You ain't gonna do shit. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? You
set
want me
my
to do
face, I'll
something.
kill you. Crap, set my.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So it's like I look at that and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I see a lot of crime, yet black people always say, well, white people are the majority of the country. Why? I beg to differ, right? We see non-whites who identify as white in America all the time. I even told people many times I could identify as a white man. My dad is white, my mom is mixed. If I commit a crime, I could be registered as a white man. People don't like to believe that. But America is at this point where you can identify as whatever.
They
When you open
identify
the door,
Arabs as white. Yeah, so like,
yeah,
yeah,
anything with North
races
Africans,
that are
anything with
clearly
Persian.
don't genetically cluster with Europeans, they are labeled as white. There's tons
Yeah,
of
I noticed
cases of
that.
that.
I noticed that with North Africans. I've noticed that with Persians, with Kurds, with Arabs, with other groups in the Middle East and North Africa. I've also noticed that with people, because in Central Asia, they made the change a few years back where they're considered Asian because some of them are Turkic, you know. Even Turkish people, I don't consider them white. They're just melting pots of so many other
Yeah,
groups.
they're
Do
mixed with
some
a
have
bunch of
Greek?
stuff. It's hard to pinpoint
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're literally a mixture of Italian, Macedonian, Mongolian, right? They have Georgian ancestry. Georgians are from the Caucasus. They have Middle Eastern ancestry. I don't consider them white. Um, Even Armenian and Kurdish ancestry, Turkish people will have. They have European admixtures, but they also, for the most part, have Middle Eastern admixtures.
Yeah, they're mixed with a bunch of other
Yeah,
DNA. What I classify as white is just does this group of people genetically cluster with Europeans? And if no, that's your answer.
I
It's
mean,
just
yeah.
simple as that.
I mean, there are groups in Europe that aren't technically white. I mean, if you really want to look at it, I'd argue Sicilians are Middle Eastern and North African descendants.
Well, yeah, it
They're
just
not.
depends if they cluster,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So that's what I find really fascinating too, because certain areas in Europe, or Eurasia or certain parts of Asia where like the Caucasus and stuff is, I don't consider Armenians or Georgians white, right? I don't consider Dagestanis white. These are Turkic, Anatolian, Mesopotamian groups that have clustered over time, you know? So I really look at that. I'm like, okay, so non-whites are considered white in America. People will say whites are like 60% of the country. I'd honestly say they're 40%. What do you think of that?
You think
That
what percentage of whites are in America?
I think 40% of America is like actual whites, or it could even be less, if I'm being
Yeah, I'd
honest.
say I'm willing to accept the 57 right now because I can't prove
Mhm.
otherwise. But if I had to take like
Yeah,
a wild
an
guess, yeah,
estimated
I'd probably
guess.
do like 50. I think it could probably be like 50 or like 45, maybe.
It could be less, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised because, like, when I grew up in Jersey, in areas like Lawrenceville and Princeton, you'd see white people. I see so many Indians in New Jersey now. Like the past 10 years, it's been a lot of Indians
There's a
coming
lot
in.
of
I see
Indians
a
where I
lot
live now. I live in Michigan, bro. There's so many. I go out driving and then
of
they're driving around, ding, 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 going on the speed limit. Like, what the fuck is that?
yeah, yeah. I'll never forget. Like I'm like I look outside. I'm not even white, right? I'm like a mix.
Yeah.
So I go outside, and I'm like I feel so out of place. I understand why white people are radicalized. I mean, this is ridiculous. This doesn't feel like America anymore. And I was talking to people, like even my friend. My friend is well, he's mostly European. He's a mixture of Spaniard, Italian, German, and Irish.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not sure if there's any other admixtures in his family. I'm not sure if anyone tried to do it up in there and try to fuck up the bloodline. But from what I do know, he goes to Miami. He says like there are blocks where people don't speak a lick of English. It's insane. You know what
Oh
I
yeah,
mean? It's
Miami.
areas.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like I think it's only like 30% white there or something like that, or like
yeah.
20%. Yeah, like it's definitely Hispanic and uh black dominated now. And it begs the question like how are we able to effectively communicate with our communities now? If we go out into our communities and we don't speak the same language and we don't effectively communicate, like let's say there was a burglary that went on or something insane that happened inside of the neighborhood, inside of our gated neighborhood or something like that, how are we going to effectively communicate with each other if we do not speak the same language? How are we going to effectively serve justice, find out who did this, XYZ, if there's a language barrier?
Barrier. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is a problem, and people don't understand that. Like I look at this, and people say, "Oh, well, America doesn't have an official language.
it does
America."
now, but
It does now, but I'm saying like people will say, "Oh, well, according to our Constitution," but then I look at like our documents and I look at our founding fathers. Our founding fathers hated the idea of complete democracy. They wanted a constitutional republic. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
and people say that English was never the
mhm,
dominant language.
yeah,
Roosevelt literally wrote letters to people, literally saying there's only one language, there's only room for one language in this nation. That's the English language. When he was speaking about immigrants, right? So it's
no,
very
I agree.
obvious. Like there was a dominant language. Our founders clearly wanted one language, people to speak one language because, like I said, language barriers they create conflict, and they're also going to not
Absolutely.
help us effectively communicate and get to conclusions and help serve justice. So yeah, people just saying like English isn't the national language. Maybe it's not written down as the official national language, but everyone knows what we speak here.
Yeah, yeah, and it was like this idea of like a secular liberal democracy for Christian values at one point, right? Like America is a secular liberal democracy in its legal structure, at least it's supposed to be. It has been like morally and philosophically grounded in Christian values. John Adams said our Constitution was made for holy religious people. It is holy and adequate for the government of any other. And John Adams was a Christian, you know. Now, regardless if people were Catholic or Orthodox, America was supposed to be rooted in Christian values and European values as well, because you know the founding fathers. I mean, they were white men, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean that to hate and shit on any other group? No, it just means that like this is what made America, and then the less white America becomes, yeah, it will change. If you have sub-Saharan Africans, I mean, I think our migrants personally are a lot better than what's going on in Europe. I think we definitely dodge bigger
Yes,
bullets.
South
But
America migrants, they're not terrible, right?
yeah,
They're not the worst migrants ever.
yeah. Could be worse, could be better, you know. But I look at this whole situation, I find it very fascinating. And I was talking with a friend about this, and a lot of people don't like talking about it. I look at MAGA and liberals as the same. Why? We have liberal whites that are for blacks.
Yeah.
We have so-called conservative whites that are you make jokes about blacks or whites. White people are the first, and I got to give a shot here. White people are the first to get offended for groups that don't give a damn about them. Blacks don't like whites on average. I'd argue a lot of black people don't like white people. I'd
Yeah, they
argue, I
definitely
mean,
don't. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like, why defend a group that doesn't like you? Why tolerate and defend everyone else? Why not worry about your own community? This whole white guilt is a problem. I mean, sub-Saharan Africa, parts of it today still practice slavery. Whites were the first to abolish it. When you look at 1794, what the French did, the British naval, there was an African king,
Yeah.
the British naval fleet, they tried to stop a king from trading slaves. It got so bad to the point where they were destroying the economy of certain parts of sub-Saharan Africa because they were getting rid of their strongest and most fit men.
Yeah.
They were turning their area into more of a shithole than it already is. I think was it King Tekebesu was that African king?
Well, I don't
Um,
know about that. I just know like a lot of people say white people created race-based chattel slavery, but it predates Europeans by a long shot. Like there's earlier slave trades like the Arab slave trades from like the 5th to the 12th century.
oh,
Like
absolutely.
yeah, there it predates Europeans. A lot of people say that Europeans created it. I mean, white people freed slaves here. The European peoples freed the slaves here, and then and the people the slaves refreed. They seem to not be very grateful. They seem to be still very still have a lot of resentment and still be very hateful to the people that literally fought, died, bled for their own freedom. Right, and they make up these lies and say these things like white people created race-based chattel slavery. It was white people that do that, even though slave trades predate Europeans, like when the Europeans started doing it.
Yeah, and it's really funny you bring that up. I remember I was watching a video of Godfrey, and it's just I can't stand Afrocentrists where they say we've been around longer than white people. Okay, but your continent for the most part is a shit. So like, what is there really to be proud of?
So
I
we
mean,
achieved
Africa.
more in less time, is what you're
Yeah,
saying. Yeah,
Asians and whites have evolved more than blacks have. That's a sad truth.
yeah,
And blacks are the only one holding themselves back, and you just think to yourself, why? I mean, even with there was a king of Dahomey, I think it was King Tegabesu, where the British naval flight had to stop him. Literally, there were moments where the British told sub-Saharan African slave traders to stop, to literally stop slavery, stop the slave trade. They didn't listen. Right after the British gave the warning, they went right back to it. And it reminds me of Liberia, where as soon as blacks build a country, black Americans, there was I can't remember who said it. Gypsy was like, we need to bring the nigger back to Africa. I'm like, well, Gypsy, it's been done before. It
yeah. There's
didn't,
been an attempt. Yeah,
yeah, it didn't go very well. Liberia, they literally in what, like a week and a half time span, they enslaved each other. Like the moment they got on that area of the continent, boom, they enslaved each other.
yeah. And I read an article when Lincoln started to roll out deportations very slowly. There was things like they were getting disease, they were like dying. There's a lot of these issues with the deportations. I want to bring it back to the slavery thing too. A lot of people will point the finger at whites, saying it was whites that were predominantly overrepresented in the slave trade, but it was actually people, Sephardic, Ashkenazi, the, the ones who were vastly overrepresented in the slave plantations, ship ownership, and also smuggling. Right, you can literally go to the encyclopedia right now, go to the section that says in America, and the last sentence will literally say the plantations in the South were wholly in the hands of the right. You can look up the Levy family, the Moses family, the DeWolf family. These are all prominent ship owners and slave traders. A good book to also read is The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews. I read that book. I learned my info from there. It's a really good source as well. There's tons of really good stuff you can use to find out if there's slave traders that were actually. You can go to jewishgen.com. You can make an account, or you don't have to put in your real info. You can put people's last names and find out if the people who are Jewish have these last names, and you can find records of them. So that's what I did when I was learning about the slave trade. I would just put like DeWolf or like Levy, and I would find a lot of their family members were in there recorded as like prominent.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up because even in areas like Mauritania, that's where my ancestors came from: Northwest, Central Africa, and West Africa. That from the African side. In Mauritania, I was 3 years old, 2007. where they made slavery punishable by law. It was made illegal in 1981, but it was punishable if you were caught doing it. And I'm like, that's actually insane how behind these countries are. Like, that's a scary thought. You know what I mean? I was walking and barely getting words out of my mouth. I mean, obviously, I was speaking to 3 years old, but I'm like, what the f-? Like, these countries are so underdeveloped and just they're not caught up with European countries and African ones.
Yeah, another
My
case
bad.
for colonization, right? Like it's like at surface level, people think colonization is like killing, brutality, like fucking up their country, but really, it's helping their nation. It's when we see these underdeveloped nations, like you say, it makes a really good case for colonialism, and we can get in all of our feelings about it. I know that's a very controversial thing, like colonialism. Like people like they light up when you say that you actually support it and you believe in it. But we're letting our feelings cloud our judgment right here,
Yeah.
right? There's literal solutions that are kind of uncomfortable to address and to use, but are we going to let our feelings get in the way of that?
Yeah, and even like the African leaders that they praise, I remember Thomas Sankara, he took a lot of government aid. Like, he wasn't this African leader everyone praised him to be. But I found the name of the real king. So King Tegbesu, he was an African slave trader and was deeply involved in it. But there was a specific quote that talked about the slave trade being the ruling principle. It was King Gezo of Dahomey, where the British told him to stop, like to stop selling slaves. He was literally destroying his country. But so when pressured the British government to abolish the slave trade in the 1840s, it was reported that King Gezo of Dahomey, modern day Benin, he said, "The slave trade is the ruling principle of my people. It is the source and the glory of their wealth. The mother lulls the child to sleep with notes of triumph over an enemy reduced to slavery." Like that's an actual quote in history. And that's actually insane.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me laugh. And then people say the white man. I'm like, look, the Negro has been the biggest enemy to the black man for God knows how long, even today.
Yeah, they had the highest rates of killing each other in America too, with guns,
It's really
right?
Yeah.
You never hear any outrage about that though.
Yeah. And they begged King Gezo to stop. Like, they said, maybe begged can be an overstatement, but they said, stop doing this. Like, and I'm like, man, it seemed like the white man tends to care a lot more for blacks than other black people do. But they
Yeah.
don't teach that in history. They see
Yeah, sometimes the empathy of the European is kind of suicidal. Some points,
Yeah.
right? They gotta know when to let go, right? We are the only group of people that have a term for saving other people, white savior. Like we're like the only group of people that
Yeah.
have that.
No, I agree. And like, they forced him to end the Atlantic slave trade, but he resisted. Like, that just goes to show Europeans went out of their way. You know what I mean? Not to say they didn't own slaves, but Africa did more with slave trade than Europeans did. The Arab world did more with them than the Europeans did. Before the white man came to Africa, Africans were selling each other. When the white man came to Africa, Africans were still selling each other. After the white man left Africa, they still sell each other to this day, certain parts. So it's like, to really paint whites as evil, and you look at the history and what they're still doing, and you look at Congo, I mean, it's literally owned by a person, the coal mine, by an Israeli person. So I'm like, is it really? I mean, everyone has done controversial things, but is it really the white man, the white man, the white man? You have to wonder and actually do the research, because even you said, right, people painted themselves as white to create racial tension. You even look at people, for example, like Jake Lang. You know what I mean? Ashkenazi can be considered white when they commit crimes, even though they say, we're not white. Oy vey, we're not white. We're not the dirty
Yeah,
boy.
you know he
And
got
it's
arrested,
like,
right?
he did.
Yeah, I'm
And
glad, because he was saying I'm gonna carry out my own execution on Carmelo. I'm like, this nigga's like this
yeah,
nigga's so stupid.
and then we already have racial tension with black people. And when you say stupid, it's, oh, look at this white, look at that nose. He's a, you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
look at that face. That is a to me. That is not a white man. And then when I see his arrest record, race white, I'm like, okay, this really just pisses
Yeah,
me
they
off.
put him as white. Right? That's
You know
another
what
thing
they're
too.
doing?
When they're arrested, they're instantly labeled as white too. Right? They don't have their own category.
You know what I noticed with Ashkenazi too, especially when a lot of them are on food stamps and benefits, a lot of them are also labeled as white.
True. Like I
Yeah.
remember that Tyler Oliveira video where he went to that neighborhood
Yeah.
where they're all completely funded by government assistance. The whole neighborhood would probably be called a white neighborhood, right?
Yeah, and same thing with, it's like in upstate New York, and I'm in Jersey, so we have like a big community here. It's only growing and getting bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jersey. Actually, we've had some of the most anti-Semitic moments. So W Jersey. But yeah, it's mainly upstate New York and Jersey. Those are huge communities. I think some of the biggest in the country. It's kind of the tri-state where we're with when it comes to the amount of them. PA has a good amount too. Um, but yeah, I look at this and I'm like the Somalis are one thing. I do want them to get taken down and exposed for fraud. Same thing with black communities. We see a lot of fraud from them. We see black women, literally Shaniquas with Louis Vuitton bags, having SUVs that are worth more than their house. They're starved kids, and meanwhile they're fat as fuck, taking all the Kool-Aid and sticky buns, killing each other over it. And I look at this, I'm like, okay, the Somalis, the scam is a problem, but and the fraud and all that. But same with the black community.
Oh
Same
yeah.
with people. Tyler Oliveira's video gets taken down. He loses sponsors. His Patreon gets taken down. His YouTube video gets taken down. But he goes to every demographic of people, whether they're white, black, Indian, Asian, whatever you want to call them, whatever ethnic group they come out of. Tyler is just honest. He does honest, real journalism. I prefer him, in my opinion, over Nick Shirley. I'm not saying Nick is a bad guy, but I feel like Tyler is very genuine. Like, he asks about the question. I think Nick has a platform where, like, I do consider both men independents. But when it comes to Nick, he has to be more like easygoing about the question. Like, he can't really talk about it because we see what happened to Tyler. You know what I mean? So, I mean, Tyler doesn't give a fuck. He still does his thing. But with Nick, a lot of people that follow him are MAGA and are on the so-called right-wing boomer or Gen Z space as well. So it's mainly a lot of Republicans that follow him, and that's where his following is. As soon as he mentions he's low-key you know what I mean?
He'll get banned from political organizations, political events, these PACs. He'll stop getting interviews. He'll probably get social media posts taken down. Right? Yeah. If he does what Tyler does, he's probably gonna get even worse treatment because Tyler isn't even involved in these PACs and these organizations and these events. But Nick is deeply ingrained in these things, right?
Yeah, I mean, he tried to go to Israel and they stopped him. You know what I mean? So, and here's another thing I want to talk about. A lot of pro-pallies aren't going to like this, but we look at people like Nick Matau, and then there's this one guy's name is Jake. You know, like the moderate case, like the dude with like the blonde hair with the mic.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah. The problem is a lot of pro-pallies get really mad and emotional. A lot of them are horrible debaters. They don't like it when I say that. And I gotta keep it like on a real note. When you look at Charlie Kirk,
I just miss when pro-Palestine was anti-Semitic. It's like not anymore. Like I miss when it was anti-Semitic. I miss that.
Yeah. So a lot of them are just like angry liberal brown people. Like that's literally what the pro-Pally movement is. And it's like the reason why people can't take the pro-Pally movement seriously. A lot of them are horrible debaters. Now I have debated people who are pro because I've told them books that mention how literally stabbed America in the back over and over and over, and how they hid knowledge from us on American civilians and preventing deaths of those American civilians. You know what I mean? So, because I talked about the Lavon affair, you know, I talked about USS Liberty. I talked about by way of deception, you know, in Lebanon that could have prevented Americans from dying. But no,
talk about 9/11 next.
Yeah, even with Netanyahu, he wrote a book, and he just predicted 9/11. What a good.
Did he actually write a book predicting it, or what?
Yeah, he talked about radical Islam like attacking the Twin Towers. I'll try to look up the book right now.
He wrote it before or after the events?
Before it happened. It was around the 90s, late 80s. I could look it up. Netanyahu book predicting.
Also, there is this company. They own this messaging app, and a bunch of their employees were warned about the attack like right before it happened. That too. That's confirmed too. Like they testified on camera for that.
So the book is called Fighting Terrorism, How Democracies Can Defeat Domestic and Internal Terrorists. So Benjamin Netanyahu, he talked a lot. And then there was another book he wrote, but Netanyahu knew this would happen because obviously it was planned. You know, we've seen Israeli intelligence. We've seen the CIA documents. We've even seen in a documentary where there was Israeli accents on the plane. You know what I mean? Even Charlie Kirk was digging into it, and all these liberal policies that were supported by the open border from BLM, even the NAACP, supported by. If you saw Shadow Jackson's documentary, you had people like Dan Burrows, I believe, who was an Ashkenazi Jew. He was a part of the clan. He was a dragon, grandmaster, like dragon, like a leader.
He was part of the clan?
Yeah. The clan. You know what I mean? Like, that's actually crazy how they infiltrate.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked into the roots of the clan, but I would not be surprised if there's like roots in there.
Oh yeah,
and then they just say they're white, like, oh, we're white people. Look at this black guy getting lynched. Like, we're white people.
Yeah, there were even in Shadow Jackson's documentary, there were actually black men wearing Clan outfits. So that's something
I
that was
didn't know
really
that.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
actually a lot of weird. I could send you the documentary later. There's 2 seasons. I haven't fully
Yeah,
finished it.
go ahead. I'll have to watch that.
But for all of you watching, it's called the MLK Project: Motives Unmasked.
Okay.
And this is yeah, and I really started getting into it because it shows how the Negro is used for public gain. When you get outcries and emotion, black people are the best tool to use for it in elections or in protests. We've seen this today, even like with the whole Somali situation with Jake Lang. Jake Lang is acting like a jack. These Muslims. We know that Muslims tend to be very emotional when it comes to certain subjects, right? They want Islamophobia. They want anti-Semitism to rise. Even people are willing to hurt their own to get their goals across. I mean, the people, and it's funny because people will always cry anti-Semitism. I'd argue the most anti-Semitic people are don't like other Jews, don't trust other Jews. You look at people like Brother Nathaniel Kapner. He is a man who converted to Christianity. Bob Fischer, he hated people. International chess player.
Yeah, I'm skeptical of the people who say I'm the good one. I'm very skeptical of those like type of
Negro. No, I get what you mean. No, I get
Yeah.
it. But I am saying throughout history, I mean, Karl Marx, he hated Jews. I mean, Karl Marx didn't like anyone. He didn't like blacks. He didn't like Hispanics.
That's true. That's an underrated anti-communist talking point. A lot of the communists, they don't know that. They don't know he wrote letters to Engels. He didn't like Indians. He didn't like black people.
He didn't like
They know
anyone.
he's anti-Semitic, which is like, you know, he's anti-Semitic, but he didn't know he didn't like Indians and like black people. But you guys believe race is a social construct, but he
the same guy
he
that
saw
basically-
race. He saw race.
Yeah.
Like he was like, yeah.
He knew the sizes of different ethnic groups in their skulls and their prefrontal cortex. And all that shit comes from him with blacks being underdeveloped. He saw them as inferior. Like, I remember I was watching, I got to give a shout out to Evan the Vanguard. I'm not sure if you follow him on Instagram.
I do follow him, yeah.
Magic. I was watching a video of just some white liberal communist, blah, 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 complaining, nails painted. I'm like, this guy's a total f-. And then out of nowhere, you see Evan say, "Did you know Karl Marx hated?" I'm like,
I watched that video, yeah.
That is an amazing way to begin a video. That is hilarious. This guy is a genius. So then I'm like, okay, now I'm intrigued. And then I'm watching it and I see his letters. He was referring to Lassalle, and I'm reading like the letters and I start laughing. I'm like, this guy's hilarious. He's great editing. And yeah, but shout out to Evan the Vanguard. He's really,
yeah.
really
I don't know if he'll ever reveal his voice one day. I would definitely love to do a collab with Magic and him because they're in their own. They're very unique in that way where they just like stitch videos and then they just like annihilate the people. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at this white liberal needs to go back to sub-Saharan Africa. And then I start laughing in the end, like I'm just dying.
And this little Negro lives with his mommy. Here's his address. Like doxing some people too, which I think is like too far. But like, yeah,
we know where you live. And then the thing is, I think she was doxxed. Kylie was doxxed before he showed that stuff. But it's always like liberal white women that live away from it and they feel the need to voice their opinions on it. It's like, bro, shut the fuck up. All right, this community doesn't like you. Stop for people that don't like you.
Yeah.
Stop trying to be a lover. Okay, we get it. Your white dad wasn't really a part of your life, but getting blacked isn't gonna, fix the void in your life. And I just can't stand liberal white women. So when I see Evan in his videos, he hasn't made a video in a while. I hope everything's all right with him. But yeah, I like I'm So Magic. It sucks because his account got taken down at like 46,000, I think. He had like 2 accounts.
He was growing so quick, yeah.
Yeah, I know. And then now Instagram just fucked him in the ass. I'm like, damn.
It kind of happened. That's what happened to my account. I had an original account. It had 20K, and then I got banned from the For You page and recommendation page. And then I was just like, fuck it. I kept posting my story, and I just got banned. I just started going crazy on my story that I suspended my account. Yeah.
My problem with Instagram is that there will be people, especially black youth, adolescents specifically, where they'll flex their charges. They'll flex their felonies, flex their charges, flex the drug charges, and the armed dealer charges. But as soon as you say, I mean, there are people that laugh about raping people on Instagram and brag about doing it, and then meanwhile, I get banned for saying or I get banned for talking about the international Jewry and the question. It's just so
exactly right. And there's literally videos I see on Facebook of black people going up to random whites, smacking them because they thought they were on jury trial for Carmelo's case, even though they're in an entirely different state.
First of all, why even hit them? Why violence immediately? Why not just talk with people?
Those videos are up, which is my issue. Yeah. It's like they're up. They're like still up to this day. Like there's no warning. Their account the video didn't get taken down. Their account didn't get a warning. If I did that, my account would have got suspended the same day. If I went up to a black guy, just boom, and just said like you for supporting Carmelo or something, you black. They would
And
take my
cops would
account
get
down
out of
instantly, and I would
your
be arrested.
ear. Yeah, it's actually really disgusting. Like I don't know how. That's the thing about black people; they can literally say whatever they want and get away with it. Like let's use me for example. If I go up to an Asian person and call them a chink, nothing's gonna happen to me. If I call you a crap, nothing happens. Now, if you call me a oh God forbid, he says such a horrific. You lose your job, you get doxxed, people follow you. Remember that white boy who said, "Yeah, I remember you. We'll never forget you." So I look at that.
Same thing with as well. You saw that guy who
Oh yeah,
lost that job opportunity for saying he doesn't work with
yeah.
G.
That's
Yeah,
really yeah, man. What happened to freedom of speech has become a thing of the past.
it is.
It's
And
actually
there's clear double
yeah.
standards. Like you clearly like if like some guy said I don't want to work with you because you're white, I'd be like, okay, I disagree with that, but it's like I can't really stop you. But then
Really
when it's a G,
stop.
then you gotta and destroy his life.
Yeah, man. It's actually like our rights are basically not ours. And like the thing is, people. I don't like to be very dark about it, but on a real note, like when you really think about it, our rights can be taken away. What do we really own anymore? Like our phone, someone else is in charge of those programs. Like with the Tates, we saw that, and even with Nick Fuentes, we saw that their apps were shut down. Right? They couldn't access anything. No Cash App, no PayPal,
You know, Nick had to
no
open a
Zelle.
bank every like new month.
Yeah, and
Yeah, he had
then
to open a bank like every month.
every month.
That's how casually he was just getting closed, and he was getting checks sent
Yeah,
in the mail.
it's actually insane, man. Like people don't understand. Like everything is shut down, so it gets to a point where it's like, damn, how do you make your income? Damn, how do you make life? Because when I make these videos, I'm most likely not going to get a job
Oh
because
yeah,
of the shit I do. Yeah, I'm fucked. So I'm trying to figure out like how I can really live my life because with school I got suspended because the videos I made talk about issues in the black community, and then they proved my
damn,
point.
really.
Yeah, they call me racial slurs and stuff online, and then they say violence against me, like people like you shouldn't exist. If I saw you, I know someone that could rip you in half. I know someone that could kill you, and it's just immediately violence rather than having any rational conversation. I'm like, damn, these low IQ sub-Saharans are proving my point, man. They're just threatening me rather than having a conversation, and it does suck because a lot of honest black people out there are the reason why I made my videos, like Andre Williams, Elijah Jenkins. These are people who are black men who are well spoken and intelligent and successful that I look up to. I love Twangolo as well. He's awesome. You know what I mean? Like these are people that I look at how they live their life, and I'm like, all right, I want to try to implement some of that. Um, but yeah, it's really unfortunate because like I said a word that hurts your feelings, or I have to carry a weapon when I go to certain neighborhoods. Or Chud the Builder, if he wouldn't have to carry a gun with what he did, if he was in an Asian or a white neighborhood, maybe a Hispanic neighborhood, but definitely a black neighborhood, as soon as you say that's like a death sentence.
Well,
That
yeah.
says a lot about the community. That's an issue. It's a is it really that deep? Oh, you don't understand the historical context. Your ancestors were slaves. You're not. You're enslaved to your emotion. Now,
They
black
don't
people are
even
in a
know the history. They say that, but they can't even tell me what the history
can't
is.
even tell you what happened. A king from Africa, a European slave owner, a Jewish slave owner. Even like one of the wealthiest slave owners in America was a black American man, bro. And I look at this
Yeah,
like, what the
that
black
there
people
was
really
black
not.
slave owners. Yeah,
Yeah, there were black American slave owners. Black people were like, nah, man, it's white people. Like Africans haven't been enslaving each other for God knows how long and still do today. Like it's actually insane. And then they complain about white people in a country made by white people. I'm like, okay, go to Africa and see how they
yeah,
treat you. You think Africans would like your ass?
yeah.
Like it's actually crazy.
And they say this constantly. They say the constantly, and it's like, okay, when you say it, you're not offended, but when I say it, you're offended. How are you offended by a word you say every 3 seconds? That
You
just
call
doesn't
each
make
other, you
sense in
call
my
your
head.
mother that, your uncle that, you call everyone that. But it's mad funny too. They said, and then like a white person will ask, what happens if I say it? Say it and find out. Say it and see what a black person would do. So, okay, you're violent. You're just proving my point. Like,
Yeah,
it's actually insane.
you're
What do you mean?
uncivilized. You can't live in society.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
man.
can't
It's
be
actually
civilized.
crazy. Yeah. Wasn't like the IQ or something like literally lowered for them or something? Like the IQ requirement? Like they said if
The
anything under like
standard IQ for retardation was lowered
mm,
because they were like pretty close,
very
right? Like
retarded,
they're
yeah.
like I think the standard now was like 75 or 70. I think it was like
Mhm.
80. And the
Yeah.
average IQ for the black Americans like 85 at the moment, right? So they lowered it because of that. That's why they
Because of
did.
them, It's honestly sad. It says a lot about the community, man. There's a lot of healing that they need, but it's like it's hard to like. Let's say because I was talking about it with Simon LePret and Grady Rich, and he and I were talking. I said if the black community were to get back to segregation, I'd honestly say their communities would still be shitholes because they'd have to think for themselves rather than relying on the white man's money.
Yeah, if we really
So
give a section of the country to them, they can't self-sustain, so we would need to fund it. So it's still not a solution. I know
no
I
problem.
know people that are like, we should be like China and give a section of the country to the black people that live here, and it's like
Right.
I wish that would work, but it's like they can't self-sustain. They're still gonna need
Yeah.
us to pour money, pour
The ones
funding,
that
pour
can
resources into it.
self-sustain will get shot up by other blacks
Yeah,
and get
right.
robbed. Yeah, it's a problem too. So it's like, man, because I think segregation would help. Like, you know what I mean? Whites have their own, Asians have their own, but a lot of black people can't think for themselves, and the one that can are basically by their own people. So it's
Yeah.
like, what do they really do in that situation? Because I do agree, I think segregation can't help because a lot of the tension and everything that's been caused has been social integration, but they've been integrated, well, not really integrated because they haven't really integrated or assimilated.
Been here for
But
generations and haven't, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, when your people have been here for 400 years and a migrant is here for less than 10 or less than 5 or less than 2, and they're more successful than an American or a black American who's been here for God knows how long, that's a problem. That says a lot about the group. You know, the only thing systemic with the black community is failure, not systemic racism, not generational trauma. Generational trauma is only used as an excuse for black Americans and
Yeah, these
those are
are
the
just
only ones.
excuses. Like maybe back in the day you had a case for like systemic racism or redlining.
Yeah,
Well, fine. Let's say for the sake of argument,
yeah,
you had a case for that. It's not exist. It doesn't exist anymore. Okay, those things are
yeah,
illegal. Okay, you see tons of other black people in positions of power. Byron Donalds,
yeah.
Kamala, Obama.
Luxury
There's
brands and
tons of
everything.
black people in positions of
Yeah,
power. There's literally nothing stopping you at this point. You have literal programs to help
there's
you as
trauma.
well. Affirmative action, DI, help you get into good jobs, help you get into good schools. Okay, there's nothing. So if you're
Use.
still failing
Yeah.
at this point, you really got to ask, is it the system or is it me?
Yeah. And to be honest, like I look at it and it's actually like hilarious. Like I look at how back then this is a horrible moment for black people, Jim Crow. They had more businesses, higher rate of nuclear family, more of them were going to school, a lot more of them were going to high school and universities. A lot of them were more literate. There were black neighborhoods filled with black doctors, black pharmacies, black mechanics, black engineers. They were well spoken. They were clean. They had suits. And I'm like if this was an era where if white people have to be like this group of people where hey they have to be oppressors. I mean, honestly, black people would be in a better society if the white man was the oppressor. I mean, it because people say, "Oh, white oppression." I'm like, well, I guess black people succeeded in white oppression. Like that's a
Yeah.
sad thing to say, but it's in a way the truth. Oh well, they'll talk about Tulsa. They'll talk about societies and cities they've never lived in. I said, look, what happened with Black Wall Street was horrible. Even in the Chateau Jackson documentary, it was a moment when the communists tried to create division between blacks and whites. People use the word communist. I can't necessarily blame the Jews if I don't have evidence. But even in an old speech I remember I was watching, there's two people in America you can't talk about. You can't talk about the communists and you can't talk about the Jews. I put them as
Well,
one
those things
person.
go hand in hand, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'll say the did it, but just for the sake of that quote. But I mean, they created division between blacks and whites for so long. We see it with Jake Lang. We saw it with it was even a man that owned a house. I remember that a black family bought, and then it all burned down and killed the family. And even like the situation with who's that one guy? The whole ADL was created after him after Lynch. Leo Frank. He
Yeah.
raped that
The
white girl.
KKK sided with the black guy that was actually
Yeah,
accused, right? So
yeah,
that's surprising, right? So it really
yeah.
shows you how guilty this guy was. It shows you like how much evidence and how much dirt they just had on this guy, right? Because they sided with him or with the black
Mhm.
man over him.
They had to because even white people and blacks were waking up. They were like, okay, it's always the even George Lincoln Rockwell and Malcolm X. I wasn't a fan of Malcolm X in the beginning of his career, but then when he realized it was people, I'm like, okay, I respect how he told the black community they need to do for self. It kind of reminds me. I'm not sure if you heard of him. His name is King Randall. He has a program called X for Boys, and he is in Albany, Georgia, I believe. And he says that there isn't enough like mental institutions, and there's no schools and horrible literacy rate and everything. So He said a lot of the black youth is illiterate, so he did work with some boys, and at 19, he bought a building and owned a school so he could help the black community. Not only does he own a school, but he created a mental facility as well. He funded certain organizations. So if black people had like organizations like X for Boys and stuff like that, and more like that, that can piggyback off of it, I believe they could segregate if they create communities where they actually help each other and give each other businesses.
My,
But the
my
problem
huge
is,
issue with like stuff like that is like we have to give them so much for them to be basic functioning
yeah.
members of society,
No, that's the
right? Like
problem. Yeah, yeah, I
that's the
agree.
problem, man. It's like what
Yeah.
the fuck? We had to give them
I'm
all
saying
these
if like the
things. Yeah,
smartest black minds came together, white people wouldn't have to do that. Like if there were more King Randalls, is
yeah.
what I mean. Yeah. So yeah, I just feel like it's really annoying with this whole situation because I'm like, there are black minds that are capable of wearing that suit and tie, but they're so limited. And then the ones that reach that space don't even want to be around black people. So it's like it's a really sad reality because as soon as a black man gets that class and money, it's that white woman like right on the spot that they tend to desire or go for.
Well, it's like they just
And
stopped dating like black women in general, right?
yeah,
That's what I've noticed. They either, like you said, date white women, or they either just stop just dating black women in general. Because I mean, what are their characteristics? Loud, aggressive, masculine, not very
insulting.
obedient. So they just look
Yeah.
for that in other races, right?
And a lot of them are obese and make a lot of excuses. And the thing is, I notice it like the least desired woman is a black woman. It's problems. You can't handle this. You know what? Maybe you're right. I'll go Asian or Latina or white. And I understand like when I see white people too, because a lot of what it's very common when I see a lot of like minority women, Asian women, and Latinas, they tend to go for white guys a lot more. I
Yeah,
notice when
that's
it comes
true.
to
I've
interracial
looked at the
relationship.
interracial marriage charts, and the Asian, black and white, they're the least likely to date out their group. But like
Yeah.
Asians and like Latinos, they're the most likely to date out their group. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it makes sense with Latinas, they're mixed anyways. So whatever group they go with, I mean, their DNA is literally from all over the place. So I mean, like when people say, "Oh, only marry your own," I'm like, "Yo, Latin Americans are some of the most mixed people in the world." You know what I mean? Like, like they'll have DNA from sub-Saharan Africa, from Asia, from Europe. I mean, they'll have it from the Caribbean. Like they've mixed with so many different groups over the years. I don't really consider like Latino a race or Hispanic like a race. They're literally just melting pots. They're just different groups
Well, I don't
who've,
know. I just
you know,
I mean, if they're from like South America, Mexico,
yeah,
I typically just say they're like Hispanic or something
yeah,
like that to make it easy. And yeah, I agree. I think people should just stay inside their own groups, because
yeah.
there's like a lot of data showing that like when people date out their groups, it lowers the birth rate
Conditions to
of
the
like
kid.
the original group.
Yeah.
So I think just for the best of everyone, like everyone should just kind of stay inside their own. And like but I love this person, but I love, it's like, okay, I get your feelings. I your feelings, right? We got to do what's right.
No, I get that. True, that is true. But if an interracial marriage works out, cool. But like a lot of the times, it's a fetish, and especially when it comes to black and white, that's where my issue is. And I feel a lot of the times I'd argue it's not genuine. It's just a daddy, or it's a whore phase. We see white chicks go with a bunch of Tyrones, get blacked.
Have you seen
I
the
hate
videos like of
like
like
where they have
white
black
women?
guys.
Yeah, have you seen the videos of like white, not with the black eyes, but I've seen all these videos of like white women. They'll be in their bed like so upset, and the caption was like the BBC was small or something like that. I've seen like that, or like
It's so
they get on
weird.
camera. Yeah, it's so weird. They get on camera and they're like, dreadheads, they so good, but there's nothing up here. It's like, yeah,
Well,
okay.
that's what they're good for. That's what they're there for. What you mean? You knew what you were
Yeah.
getting into. The black eye was worth it. The pregnancy scare was worth it, I guess. But like, it's crazy because like the fact that they could post that on the internet, like that horse shit on there, is crazy. Like the confidence
I
they
mean, yeah,
have
they just
actually
ruined like their potential for like any good partner at that point. Like
with
they
their
really
partner.
just
They're like,
ruined
well,
it.
okay, once you go black, we don't want you back. All right, let's take. Oh, Stacey's a whore. Okay, so it's like it's just so annoying and it's sad because like a lot of the times they're very performative, they're very forced, right? Like they'll show a white guy in an ad as weak, and they'll show a guy like Terry Crews who's shredded to the gills, built like a brick shithouse, good skin and everything. But it's sad because the white guy is always presented as this dork, and it's like you see in Germany, they're having like throuple ads now, where they have like a mixed group of 3 people where they're in one bedroom. I'm like, this is weird. I'm so sick of being open to anything, because when you open one door to possibility, you have to open all the others, right? So that's the thing. The abnormal, and I've said this so many times, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, the abnormal has become normal, and normal has become the abnormal.
That's true. Yeah.
So when you cut your dick 10 years ago, whoa, this transgender person, what are you doing? Oh, but now that's normal, and they're
But
in
now
there.
it's accepted, right? You get surgeries to turn your vagina into a penis into vagina, right?
A chode, and then you split your dick into 2 ends or whatever, and
Yeah,
then you
they
make
have to do this thing called dilation, where they put like dildos inside of them so the wound doesn't close, because it's
keep it
literally
open
an
and
open
then
wound. Yeah, it's literally just an
yeah,
open wound. Your body's trying to close it, so they put a dildo up in
yeah,
there, and all these
yeah.
all this blood comes out. It's like disgusting, man.
Disgusting. And
Yeah,
people will literally like I've done research with the whole transgender thing. Like people will literally freeze like tomato sauce and stick it up their fake vagina and then act as if they're having a period. I'm like, this is demented. How is this considered normal? You
yeah.
know what I mean? How are doctors, like our medical institutions have failed us, you know?
Things that were once labeled as mental illnesses, nostalgia, transgenderism,
Yeah.
are no longer labeled as mental illnesses, and that's the biggest issue I have with our institutions. Right? It's like we keep getting more and more and more and more tolerant, more and more and more things are going to be considered normal and healthy and not mentally unstable. I consider nostalgia a mental illness. I really do. When I see people playing their video game they played from 10 years ago, enjoy the video game. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
when you're crying because of it, it's like you're a grown man. Come on.
You're pathetic.
You're
Yeah,
grown. You're
man.
a grown up, dude. Like, what is this? So there's something clearly wrong with you, and there's something clearly wrong with you if you get a surgery to basically cut a wound in your crotch, and you have to put like a
I
dildo
agree.
up there to have blood cut, and then blood starts coming out. All these blood clots. Like, you're clearly mentally ill.
That's scary,
Yeah.
and so many things have become normalized now to the point where it's like, what do we do? You know what I mean? How can we really bounce back from this? Because everyone likes to argue, well, they're the minority. And I'm like, well, the minority can commit a lot of crimes. The minority can be the loudest group. The minority can have the
Exactly right.
biggest impact. You know what I mean? So everyone says, oh, well, they're just a minority. Well, what if they become the majority? Everyone thinks that, and people
If
always
that
talk, well,
argument were valid, then
yeah,
we would say that for oh, but they're a minority though. It's like, but they're a
we're looking
minority
at
with a
overrepresented
2,000%
billionaires.
overrepresentation in billionaires,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's really something that just like intrigues me, I guess. Oh, they're only a minority. How many times in history have we heard that until they're not the minority
Yeah.
anymore? You know what I mean? Like how many times do we have to like actually like smack our heads against the wall before we really like get the point, I guess. But yeah, it's something that really like interests me because we're at a point in time now where Gen Z, a lot of them, at least 70% of them can't afford like basic living or a house. And the ones that can afford living are struggling to make a rent. The jobs aren't cutting it anymore. And people say, oh, well, your generation is just lazy. Well, boomers don't understand that we can't live on single incomes anymore because of feminism. You could live before feminism, you could live on a single household income. Now you
Yeah.
just live on two. Now people are struggling to
I
live
saw a
off
stat
two.
like most of Gen Z has like a side hustle. Yes, I saw that too. That's because
Yeah, they
that's
have
because
to.
our jobs aren't even cutting it. Some people with 2 jobs have to still have a roommate, right?
Yeah,
And also we can talk about H-1Bs and foreigners replacing the jobs, replacing workers, and the companies using the H-1Bs to replace the workers too, right? Like people that
yeah.
come out of college with a degree struggle to find good paying jobs. They can find low paying jobs, 30K, 20K, with a degree they work for about 6 to 5 years to obtain. And they obtain this degree, they get out of college, and they can't even find a
They can't even get a
120K, even
job.
80K a year job. Yeah. Like it's like
There was
30K.
this regular show meme, and regular show Lost Tapes came out. I liked some of the new episodes. It felt like literally a blast from the
Oh,
past,
I did
but with
not
the
see it.
new.
I had to watch it. I didn't know it came out.
Yeah, the regular show Lost Tapes were pretty good so far. They're going to have more episodes. But what I liked about that regular show episode, it was with Mordecai Rigby and Benson. When I'm not sure if you remember, but Benson sold the hockey machine.
Yeah, I
Do you
remember
remember
that.
that episode? Yeah, yeah. So Mordecai and Rigby were constantly going to different places to find the hockey machine. I'm like, yo, this is low key what it feels like trying to find a job these days.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was really funny. And the caption on top of the video, it said what did it say? It said, me, as soon as I get my degree, or students Gen Z, as soon as they get a college degree, I'm like, that's so true. And I put in the comment, and I got like hundreds of likes from that comment. I said, as soon as you get that college degree, you're a college student. Nobody wants to hire a stupid, inexperienced student. That just won't benefit them. However, if you're experienced, you're too expensive to keep. If you've been
You want to
working in a
know that's
company,
even, they're not even going to hire that as well. You want to know from my personal experience, I used to be a freelance video editor. I still do it, right? I still have my business. I still do it, but not as much as I used to though. I used to have like way more clients, but I'm focused on like making content more now. But yeah, I came out of high school and I was doing freelancing in high school. Came out of high school, kept doing freelancing, went all in on it, and I was actually trying to lock down jobs that have good paying salaries. I was looking about 60 to 120K. That's just what I'm looking for my first video editing corporate job, right?
yeah,
And I'm going to all these websites. Usually, none of them said I had to have any degree. It was pretty rare. Some of them like required a degree. Most of them were just like 2-3 years experience, extensive portfolio, and I had a lot of that. I had all of that extensive portfolio, client testimonials, plenty of years of experience. And when I tell you I applied to like 100 to 200 jobs, I did, and I didn't get a response from one. I didn't even get a little
same.
response. That was like one dude. And you want to know who responded to me? People pretending to be job recruiters, and they almost scammed me. I almost got tricked because I was going to get on an interview with them, but then last minute they said, we're not going to do a voice interview. We're going to do a text interview. And I was like, what? I was like, what the
Yeah,
fuck? Like, that's weird.
yeah.
And I looked up the recruiter's name, and there was a bunch of people on these forums saying this guy's pretending to be a recruiter for this company. Don't listen to them. And I said,
Yeah, man, it's actually insane because it's like, okay, you got all the experience in the world. You should seal the deal. You know what I mean? I've worked for all these companies. I've done this for this amount of years. Oh, you're expensive. We don't want you. It's like, okay, so they're cutting corners. They want one person, essentially like they're Mexican, if that's the best term to use. They want one person that does the job at 20. That's what companies are looking for these days. And in certain institutions, I'd argue AI is also taking over. We see the CPU
yeah,
prices, the RAM prices going up. Prices are going up for everything.
post production will definitely be replaced by AI, and that's like video editing, right? So yeah, the post production
Yeah,
will definitely be taken by AI. Same thing with thumbnails too. A lot of freelancers are going to lose their jobs. Thumbnail designers,
yeah.
strategists, video editors, anyone who working in that content creation space, they're going to lose their jobs for sure, and their freelancing business is going to go out of business. So that's why I suggest everyone to switch over to making their own content at this point.
Okay. At this
Yeah.
point, yeah. At this point, be an entrepreneur, create some type of brand. But we
Yeah.
all need to really come together at this point. Like, this is a time where we're so divided. We got to come together. We really don't have a choice here. Um, because if we don't, then how are we going to build a platform, right? We need platforms that build platforms that build platforms. Because everything, because back then it was like YouTube, do it yourself. You have a few people in your corner. Oh, I don't need you anymore. You know what I mean? People are so quick to sell out their day ones. So, like, where do you really go from there? I mean, the entrepreneurship is great, but then you see on Instagram, obviously, a lot of people they scam, right, with these courses and whatnot. So a lot of these courses aren't even like helpful. They're just to get a quick buck off of you
Yeah,
when
there's
they
so
don't
much
need
better
you.
books than these like courses that people sell you. They
Yeah,
probably read a bunch of books or they put a bunch of books into AI or something to create their course, or their course is created with AI. If you really want to learn something, there's a book about it. You can go to Anna's library, that website, you can get any PDF, any
yeah,
EPUB,
yeah.
right? You can go to any library in general. You can buy any book on Amazon. If there's something you want to learn, there's a book for it. I don't think buying courses is like worth it. I think mentorship's worth it. I think
Absolutely.
you should learn fighting if you're doing something like that. You should learn how to get
Yeah.
better at working out your sport, your instrument. That stuff's good, but courses they're not worth it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just, it gets to a point where it's like AI has literally drained and sucked the fun out of everything.
Yeah.
I like holding a book and reading it. I don't mind reading books online, but it's like everything is pointless because, oh, AI does this now.
Yeah, and most
You
people
know,
don't even really know how to, like, you don't have to read a book like you're taught like start to finish. There's a
yeah,
table of context. There's certain, if you want to find, okay, I want to know what race this guy was in this book, just go to the table of
yeah.
context and just go there. You don't have to
Kind of
read
like
the whole book,
Spartans.
right?
Yeah. It's kind of like when I was in school and I'd use Spark Notes. This is before OpenAI really became popular, like back when I was in high school. Um, I could literally go on Spark Notes, not read a book, read the summary and analysis of the book, and then I could answer my test questions. Like, it's amazing how many cheat codes. I mean, even back then there was like Quizlet. I'm not sure if people still use that,
Remember Quizlet?
but
Yeah, remember that.
yeah, 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 you have Quizlet, you have Spark Notes, you had all these other websites where they literally give you the answers. And I'm like, wow, like now AI, it's like it's people can't think. I mean, they can think, they just choose not to. Is it cool to have a database that has connections to other databases? Yeah, you could use AI as a tool to learn, but it takes so much. Like it sounds like it's kind of like when people say, "Hey, socialism sounds so good." Okay, but you execute it in real life, certain aspects of it don't work, right?
Yeah.
Everything sounds good on paper, but to actually execute it and bring it into real life,
Yeah, trying to flatten hierarchies doesn't work. Like it's just
it
yeah, it's just
doesn't.
trying to go against like natural law, nature.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Doesn't work.
And that's what and it's AI is like I'd say it's the biggest slap in the face. It's really cool how you could use it with 3D printers. You could also
Yeah, I use it
use
for
AI.
thumbnails. I'll be honest.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the only thing I use it for is like
lifesaver.
thumbnails.
You know?
Yeah.
AI can create thumbnails. AI can even edit your videos now.
Yeah, it's
You
starting
know,
to get there. It's not totally
not
good,
quite
but
there,
yeah,
but
it's starting to get there.
so yeah, that's what it's really scary, but it's also really interesting, like this new world that we're in, because it's like everyone change is normal, right? Everything eventually changes. But are certain changes really necessary? Like I saw an ad, and I'll end this segment on this.
Hmm.
I saw an ad where a guy was like, "Oh, I want to get a coffee. Oh, you got to download an app. Why not? I just want to pay for the coffee. You know what I mean? No one wants to download a stupid app that you're never going to use. What's the point of downloading it? Like, give me my fucking coffee. Here's the money. Why can't I use my card?" And said, "Yeah, we take card. Oh, there's an app for that. Why would there be an app for it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have your card on your phone, you have your card in your hand, you have cash. Why do I need to do this new system? You know what I mean? It's just so inefficient and pointless. Like the whole point of technology is to be efficient and up to date and fast. Uh, Certain updates aren't really updates. If anything, they're downgrades. Okay, my thing doesn't work. The power went out. Let me use my cash instead of a card. Okay, I don't have cash. I got a card. I don't have cash. I have Apple Wallet or Cash App. Let me just scan my phone right here. Um, but yeah, it's like people are making things more difficult for no reason. I'd say rather than more simple, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I could totally see that in a way that people are making like things more difficult. You got to go through more of a process to obtain certain things. Like I can totally see
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
which is crazy. I'm like, isn't it supposed to make it easier rather than create more issues? But yeah, that's all I really have to say on that segment. I just thought it was very strange because it puts everyone in a weird situation where it's like, okay, we are devolving, we are getting dumber, right? We cannot think for ourselves anymore, do our own research. It's great to have AI, but it's nice to have Wikipedia pages, but also people lie too, right? People lie, so you have to be careful where you do your research, whether it's a right leaning organization or a left leaning organization, because everything we have learned, right, has been to program us and desensitize us. Everything we're exposed to on a daily basis on social media. It gets to a point where even my brother, I remember he was in school, they were doing track inside. It was turf. So turf is very slippery when when you're running in socks.
Yeah.
So whoever won gets donuts. Some kid slipped, sliced his head open on a fire extinguisher. Now people were sitting there laughing and clowning at him, got their phones out. I'm like, dude, we're so desensitized. Like, help the kid, cover his head. And my brother said, yeah. He looked at me. He said, we are cooked. Society is like it's actually scary. Like people would rather than getting involved. And obviously, when someone pulls out a blade and stabbing someone to death, it's kind of hard to get away when someone has a blade and a weapon. But
Yeah.
you're just going to sit and watch someone bleed out. You're not going to call the cops. You're not going to try to stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
If you can at least
Exactly.
disarm the guy, do something.
Reminds me of Arena's case, right? Yeah. So they
Yeah,
just watched her
yeah.
bleed out.
You just watch her bleed out. No one helped her. Man, fuck that white girl. And yeah, because black people are so loving, right? And it's like it's ridiculous. And he even bragged about. He's like, I killed that white girl, but now he's mentally unfit, even though he's committed many
Yeah. Who
crimes and
cares
been
if he is?
trial
Who gives a shit?
many times. It's like this is just. I'm sick of people making excuses for black people.
Yeah.
Over and over and over. It's just a disease. Like I don't even call it black culture. I call it a disease because that's what it really is. Like this promotion of degeneracy. And it's really hard to move back. The only thing systemic is the failure that blacks bring onto themselves and create in their mind before they can even bring it into reality. It's like the white man doesn't care about you. He wants to do his own thing, man. The white man doesn't want to die. I'm part black. I was dating a white chick at the time, Romanian. Um, A bunch of blacks were like sagging their pants, smelled like weed, dreads, listening to music. I pulled her ass. I'm like, nope, don't want you down on our first date. And obviously, when it came to the opinion of her friends, when it comes to women and the opinions of friends, they can't hang around controversial people, so it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm trying to think. I want to really get into editing and like learn new things. I want to be a part of a community where we can, like, let's say one of us gets shut down, we have him or we have her. You know what I mean? I'm sick of this group chat. I want to meet people. A lot of these group chats are really, and it's just people rage baiting. It's just people, and that's the thing with the far right, man. Too many larpers. A lot of people are doing this for show. It's hard to find genuine people in the movement, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, someone ends up stabbing someone in the back, and they take money from someone else, and they betray everything they claim to believe in. It. Like MAGA was great because Trump was supposed to be different. That's why people loved him in 16. The
Right. He
issue
was
with
kind of like the
Trump,
dark horse at the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He could have died the hero and had his legacy from 2016 to 2020. Obviously, there are things he did I didn't agree with, but with 2024 to 2028, right? Whatever Trump's legacy is going to be, because he's in his 80s, he's serving at this point. He could have either died the hero or lived long enough to see himself become the villain. He became the villain. Now we see him supporting this trans. I thought you were against trans. I thought you were against immigration. You see all these H-1B ones. He deported less immigrants than Obama did, right? Even with Trump's situation, this was the guy that claimed to be, he didn't want to have wars in America, getting involved in foreign situations that could fuck over the country and the people. Look at what's going on with Iran, right? And Iran, when they were threatening, when they said death to America, they were referring to the government. Even the Ayatollah admitted that, not even the people. So it gets to a point where we over these Muslim countries. So then Muslims, these refugees, go over to Europe. Some come to America. And it's really fascinating to me, like how we've really screwed up and how the boomers have fucked us over and how
Yeah.
tolerant. Yeah. We've been
Yeah.
too tolerant.
One of my issues with like third worlders complaining about like their country like getting blown up is like, is that really a good excuse for you to abandon your country and come to another
Yeah.
one and then
Would you
fuck
be
this
willing to fight
country's
for
aid
it?
to
Yeah,
fuck
I get
this
what you mean.
country up? Yeah, like there's been plenty of countries that have gone through, nuclear like bombs, nuclear warheads
Yeah.
as well, Japan, for example, and
Japan,
they were able to rebuild their society in 5 years, and then
Vietnam
you could
rebuilt,
say it's
Persia rebuilt
because,
itself.
well, yeah, you can
Yeah.
say it's because foreign aid from the U.S., but it's like it matters what you do with the foreign aid because Syria
Absolutely.
also got
Absolutely.
tons of foreign aid from the U.S., but they were not able to recover. So it just matters who
Mhm.
has the foreign aid and what you do with it, right?
Yeah, I agree. Same thing with sub-Saharan Africa. They're not doing shit with that aid. It's just more corruption.
There's
You
like
know what I
billions
mean?
of dollars of aid getting poured into Africa. Nothing has happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much money. You could even argue trillions. They've been getting so much money from the EU, so much money from America, and what are they doing with it? So it really is an unfortunate situation. But that's what people loved about Trump. He was like, okay, with Gaddafi, with Hussein, we shouldn't have gotten involved. Their countries were way better when they were in charge. Now, what are we doing? We're doing a regime change, the thing that he claimed to be against, war, right? So a lot of Republicans have trouble admitting. I mean, they basically shot themselves in the foot, but they have trouble admitting that Trump essentially betrayed them.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
We see a lot of kiss too. I remember I wore a Negroes for Trump shirt, and people viewed me as, "Oh, you're black. You're a. How could you vote this side? Oh, so I'm only black when it's convenient to you." And that's what sucks with politics. It's race is a huge part. For people that say race is a social construct, it's a huge part. It's a construct of society, right? It's a huge part that plays into politics. It's very good to use people for political gain. Same thing with women. Women are like the biggest supporters of LGBTQ, abortion, open borders. That's what helps the left. Women help the left. Minorities help the left. Whites and Hispanics tend to be more right leaning for the most part, I'd say.
It's for
Um,
Hispanics and white is it's like kind of down the middle. Yeah.
yeah, because like most white people tend to be right. Most Latinos tend to be right. It's just mainly women who are Latina that tend to be more left. I mean, naturally,
Yeah,
women
the
are going to
women
be
in
more.
general, yeah.
Yeah, there will be left leaning or centrist, and when you marry a woman, eventually you can get her to your views or whatever. But I think that's one of the biggest issues too. It's so easy to divide us, and the things that are supposed to unite us create more division because people are just so stuck in their ways. Like the Epstein files. Oh, where's our revolution? Nope, you're blaming Republicans. Nope, you're blaming Democrats. You're blaming white
They
people.
came up with a new
And then,
term, Epstein class. I'm like, it's like, what do you really mean by that? It's like,
yeah, it's
Epstein class,
insane.
bro.
But yeah, it's like I'm really glad I got to talk to you. I feel like there's a lot I can learn from you. I tried dipping my toes in the water, but like I'm the type of person where I just jump in the water immediately. I
Okay,
got to
yeah, I
really
can
be.
tell. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. It's good. There's good energy, good stuff, good content today. I would go longer, but do I have like 3 other podcasts to edit? I'm not
You
trying
got
to
a lot of
like,
shit to do. I got two others as well with Andre
yeah, I got like
Williams.
fucking, I got so much to edit. But I do appreciate you having me on. If you want to do it again, just hit me up whenever. I'll do it again. I'll do it tomorrow if you want. I don't
Appreciate that,
care.
man. Hopefully, we can get some clips out of this. I dropped the huge J, so maybe you know what I mean. Don't want your platform getting banned, so we got to be careful how we do that.
I talk about them pretty often. I think I'll be all right.
All right. Well, God bless you, man. It was nice meeting you,
All
Noah.
right.
I
God
appreciate
bless. I'll
it.
catch you later.